The one thing that we could say about African peoples is that we left evidence of ourselves all over this planet. And that's the problem with European scientists. The deeper they dig, the blacker the planet gets. And what we have been made to see now is this infusion of European, I guess, philosophies about what the past was, and no one else on TV is actually giving us evidence of what we were, who we were, but Europeans.
Every person has the right to know their ancestral history. Every person, no matter where they are in the world.
Most of world history, 90% of world history is African history. And even that 10%, Africa is extraordinarily involved in making it what it is.
You won't find a painting, you won't find a statue, you won't find a monument anywhere prior to 1500 that isn't Africoid in some way, shape, or form.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. As you see, that's Hidden Colors 2, The Triumph of Melanin. And I recommend that you see all these hidden colors. They're coming up in 2019 with Hidden Colors 5, which is going to be fantastic. You got a black screen on. Oh, this is a winner. Welcome to the show, Julian.
Thank you. I'm glad
Alexander.
Ariola Hemmings.
Hola, Hemmings. Hola.
Yeah.
How's it going, my brother?
You know, I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back home. Since I've been here for about a week now, and I returned to the National Action Network working at Youth Huddle, and also going to different high schools talking about going to college. So it's been a wonderful time being back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're away at which school?
Morehouse College.
Okay, a Morehouse man.
Yes, sir. Well, man of Morehouse. I'm not allowed to leave with that. We graduate Morehouse men. We come in men of Morehouse.
Men of Morehouse.
Yeah, yeah. They'll yell at me if I even allow something like that.
Okay, so it's a metamorphosis.
Yeah, yeah,
Kafka,
yeah.
right.
Kafka.
All right, all right. So what do you think about this role in Hidden Colors?
You know, I think it's very important for people to know their history. I think that, you know, I just went to the Met last week, and walking around and seeing African history and African culture, and for what it truly is, a full image of it, I think is always awe-inspiring, because you see the beauty of what your people can accomplish. There's a certain narrative that's portrayed of African people being in some way intellectually stagnant, and just to see that that has not been the narrative within our human history is always an inspirational thing.
So you don't have the problems of color, more or less. Now you're way down in the deep south, Georgia. Yeah. You're coming from New York. Is there any difference in color syndromes? Or?
Well, I think that being at Morehouse, it's really different than just being in the South, because of how they portray our history within the courses. It's all about breaking away the chains of the mind and ensuring that young people, especially young black men of color, feel inspired by seeing men that look like them come back and tell them what they can accomplish. So I can't say that it's been exactly the same, but what I can say is through an organization that I've created on campus called New Deal Democrats, we've really tried our best to go out into the West End community and talk to people and within the neighborhood, and they're predominantly black people. And hearing their stories, hearing their self-narratives of pain and stagnation, as well as a feeling of being inherently inferior because of the color problem within Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Especially with Brian Kemp.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
fixing the election. Fixing the election and causing a black woman who is extremely qualified to be ignored once again. There is a sense of hopelessness that arises within the people of color, because they're fighting, and they're seeing their same situation remain the same.
Right.
However, there is this weird dichotomy within Atlanta, because, and then it goes towards class, right, between the black proletariat class and the black bourgeoisie class. with Morehouse College and Spelman and Clark, and the fact that we are isolated from our brothers and sisters within those neighborhoods. So what I'm trying to do is to bridge that gap. So the inspiration that we have
for
within,
you.
yeah,
Because you come from the hood.
yeah,
The Bronx.
yeah, I come from the Bronx, and to bridge that gap, right, to speak that language and to connect, because we're at Morehouse doesn't mean the education stopped with us. It should be extended towards every single person.
You got it right.
Irrespective of where they come from.
So you find the blacks down there have a more privileged class.
Yeah, there's
class.
more of a black base in Atlanta, but I would say that doesn't mean that black people in Atlanta aren't facing massive issues as a whole.
But you're saying there's a black superiority complex in a lot of people now?
Oh, no, I was saying, no, I'm not saying there's a black superiority complex. I'm saying that there's a class complex.
Okay.
But
Bourgeoisie. Okay.
Yeah, but what I do say is that a lot of people in the West End, people of color, feel limited because of a lack of information that's being sent to them, right? What issues should they fight for? What should they believe is reform even possible? Talking about like increasing their minimum wage, talking about like protect Social Security, which they're living day to day, so they don't have the time to worry about those issues in the way that we can. So it's our moral responsibility to go back and to help us in the best way that we can.
So you feel a little more closer to these people than
Of course.
an average Morehouse person?
Of course, because I've dedicated myself to doing it.
Okay.
It's very easy to live within the walls of Morehouse College.
Okay.
It's very easy to stay within the ivory tower. It is an extra workout to go out there and to make a change. It's for example, it's very easy to be white and to be ignorant, right?
Right.
It's a little difficult to get out of that white gaze, that white gate, and enter into the real world where the people of color who are actually struggling. It's always, I think, with people of privilege, right? Especially being like able-bodied people, right? It's very easy to not be empathetic towards someone else's issues. It's always very difficult mental challenge to feel what someone else is feeling. But it's one that's really honorable to take up.
Well,
Yes.
I want you to know
Yeah.
that we're proud that you've grown to this point.
Thank you.
I mean, of being brilliant and humble as a black man and as a darker black man. You know, when
And I'm proud of it.
you know, yeah, that's something to be proud of. You know, because a lot of times, if you're light skinned, you're expected to be put in front because that's the way it always was. You know, they look at me as half white. Or Obama didn't look half white, but people felt that he wasn't black
He wasn't
enough.
black enough, they said.
Yeah.
You know, and that's silliness on our part. We catch the same disease as the racists.
See, that's that point, in conjunction with what he was just saying. Racism infects and affects everybody. It affects the racist and the person who is being
Exactly.
victimized by racism. So the thinking of the racist, the thinking of the victim of the racist has to be analyzed. The thought processing of both, because the way that you think determines how you behave. So, you know, Atlanta, you've got it, because it is not for you to get a college degree to continue the status quo.
That's it.
But to bring, as you're doing, bring the information that you've obtained at Morehouse to the brothers on the corner.
That's it.
And that might inspire another fellow to say, you know what, I want to go back to school. I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's to bring them that inspiration. And them seeing, well, I went to a hospital in Brooklyn to see an old man today. And I was at the corner, and a guy nodded to me, and he looked for me. I said, do you know? He says, no, I watched the show. This is outside of Wyckoff Medical Center. He says, I watched the show with you, the Gilchrist experience, man. He says, and it's just, he says, just to see you in person. I said, like, you know, what are you talking about? You know, I'm just an everyday guy. I live in Brooklyn. You know, this is not, you know.
And that happens all the time.
And I went in the hospital.
It happens all the time.
And in the lobby of the hospital, a lady walked up to me. This is within 5 minutes. The information you're giving, man, you guys. So it affirms what we're doing.
Yeah.
And when our young people go away, they need to understand they've got to bring the knowledge and wisdom that they've obtained and share it amongst the people. And it give what you can give freely. I was at Hofstra a few years ago, and I told the law students there, I said, your degree is not too...
I hate to interrupt you, but roll in put in roll in 2 and bring down the iris on my shot. All right? Bring on roll in 2. Let's play roll in 2. And you get that on?
So I can voluntarily go to jail. Do you think I robbed Bank of America and I called them the next day to say I'm a criminal? So whether she murdered somebody or she did whatever, what you don't understand is her mentality wouldn't allow it. She's not mature enough. So she can't. At 17 for me, because they say in California rape, robbery, and murder is violent, I was on a dog. Hi everybody, my name is Shawana Vaughn. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Okay. So I run a nonprofit and I work with the African-American gun violence and formerly incarcerated women. I'm formerly incarcerated. I was in prison at 17. I hear you, but a kid does not have the mentality to call the police on themselves. I'm a criminal trying to stay free. I'm not calling 911. 911, first of all, wants to kill me because I'm black. Female, male, or dog, I'm black. Your mentality at 15 and 16 is not to call the police on yourself, okay? That's not gonna happen. I can only use me. I can't use her, because guess what? I'm actually writing letters and fighting for her myself. I'm in Just Leadership USA. I wrote letters for 5 years fighting for Miss Lily Alice, like everybody else. So let me explain something to you. I'm from Bakersfield, California. I robbed a bank with the FBI sitting on top of my mother's house. She said, if you don't come, they're going to tear up my house. Do you think I went to where she told me to go so I can voluntarily go to jail? Do you think I robbed Bank of America and I called them the next day to say I'm a criminal? So whether she murdered somebody or she did whatever, what you don't understand is her mentality wouldn't allow it. She's not mature enough. So she can't. At 17 for me, because they say in California rape, robbery, and murder is violent, I was on a dog.
All right, come up. Welcome back. Today's guests, welcome to the show. Everybody can see who you are. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Shawana Vaughn. I am the director of Silent Cry, Inc., and I am from Bakersfield, California, and I'm grateful to be here with you guys today.
Bakersfield.
Yeah.
It's an honor for you to be here.
Thank you so much.
Why are you in New York?
Because I love you guys.
That video. You said at 15?
At 17.
17. And how did you wind up
Somebody go get Corey
in
and
that scenario
check this backlight
at
on.
such a young age? If I may ask.
Life. The desire for things. The desire to be validated, the desire for things. The streets is a very intoxicating, it's euphoria. And I understand how young people get caught up, and it's such a lie. But when you're in it, or you're searching for something, and you're looking for something, it will answer the call. And, you know, my father and my brother both died in 1986. My father died of cancer, and my brother was murdered for senseless violence. And that leaves a hole. And then you gotta figure out where you belong and where the pieces go. And sometimes you get lost in that process and you lose yourself. And in trying to find myself and find my grounding and find my footing, I found the street. And like I said, it has a euphoria like nothing else I've ever. I don't know about drugs, but the street is its own drug.
You mean you weren't on drugs?
No, I've never done drugs. I don't drink.
You've never done drugs?
I don't drink. I don't smoke. And everybody who grew up with me and know me knows no. Because I'm silly all by myself. So I don't need any enhancements. But the street is its own drug. It's its own euphoria. And for young people looking for love or something, it's there. People will tell you they love you, they're there for you, and they'll be everything that your parents weren't. They'll be everything that the church is not. They'll be everything that the community is not giving. They'll be that. And you will fall for it. But the reality is, it's a slippery slope on the way to hell, death, and jail. Because there's only 3 places you can go in that. And though that's the other side that nobody says. That's the other side that nobody teaches. There's only 3 places to go in that life. And
Why did you go to prison?
for bank robbery.
What?
Bank robbery.
Bank robbery.
Yes.
What, you fell into the wrong crew?
No, all by myself.
By yourself?
Who gonna tell on you if you take yourself?
That's a smarter criminal.
And you, how old at the time?
I got arrested at 17.
At 17. You were bold enough at 17 years old to go into a bank and try and rob it.
And went home.
You managed to rob the bank?
Mm-hmm.
Did you plan it out?
I plan out life a little bit.
What made you feel so slick enough to do something like that at 17?
When you're slick enough to pull off a lot of things like that, then it's okay. And then you get full of yourself.
So there was a pattern that developed.
There was a pattern.
And you
that
weren't
developed.
on drugs?
No.
What kind of movies did you watch? I mean,
I didn't need movies. I grew up in the elements of your environment.
and this is California.
Mm-hmm.
And what? Give us the year. I know you're
1997.
97. 97.
There wasn't many movies then. I watched them when I was in
97?
prison on TV.
That's
So,
barely the 97.
yeah.
And what was your experience when you were in prison?
Whoa, that's profound. I've made friendships that are everlasting. I've made friendships that I have right now. It was interesting. Like I said, there is no rehabilitation in prison. It is only industrial slave labor,
Okay.
13th Amendment.
the 13th Amendment.
So it's 21st century.
It is new slavery. And
So there was no educational program?
there's no education. There a GED here and there.
So this is 97. When you went in 97, there was no college training?
No.
Or that was taken out?
We're
What
in
year
New
was
York.
that?
She's in California.
And so, you know, it feels like going to that's the new modern day plantation, where you wake up at 4:30 and you're at work by 5, and 7 cents, 11 cents, and some work for no money. And you know, like I explained, we complain about the sweatshops overseas, but who is on the front line marching about the sweatshops in the 21st century called mass incarceration and slave labor in the prison system?
Ava DuVernay did a documentary called 13 on the 13th Amendment.
Yes.
An excellent documentary. If you haven't seen it, you need to see
I
it.
have, and
It's
it is.
online. It's on YouTube. She's won awards for that documentary. And young people.
Female did it.
Yeah, Ava DuVernay is an
Ava
outstanding documentarian. But you need to see the documentary 13
Yes.
because people don't know. We don't, you're going to go to law school. We don't study law. Our people don't, they don't want to take the time to read anything until you wind up before a judge and find out, well, for this you're going to get that, for this you're going to get this. And the terminology you may not understand, but when you're in it, it's like hitting a brick wall. What was the net? What did you net on the bank robbery?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or did they give you the exploding bag?
No,
They didn't?
no
Okay.
exploding bags.
Okay,
How much did you make?
I took my own bags.
okay.
What did you make? That should be easy to remember.
Probably about 60,000.
$60,000? What do you do with $60,000 in California at 17?
Foolery.
Huh?
Foolery.
Yeah, of course.
Foolery.
You bought yourself a car.
I just did foolery. Like you're too young to know what to do, and when you are with people who don't know any better, then you don't do better. And somebody with no education cannot tell you what to do with money, because, you know, like I tell young people right now, there's hood money, there's wealth, there's rich. And so if your mentality is in poverty, you can have $1 million. Until you get your mentality out of poverty, it doesn't matter how much money anybody gives you. You're going to squander it because you know not. Right. And, you know, right now I know that money is, we live in New York. Money is everything. And yet,
What brought you here?
I got married.
Ah, okay.
And I'm learning that, you know, New York is one of the richest places in the world. And yet people live in poverty, like a third world country,
Right.
or worse. And you go down to Wall Street and you look at the Dow Jones and you look around, and then you go to Bed-Stuy and you look at certain neighborhoods and certain blocks and you look at gentrification. You go to Harlem and you look around. You go to the Bronx and you say, oh my God, we've landed in Baghdad. And it just can't be. And people are still struggling. And it's not that people choose to be in poverty. I don't think people choose it. And right now we have a system where we have 219,000 women that are incarcerated, says the census.
How do you feel about this new bill that was just passed?
The First Step Act, I think it's...
What sort of changes is that going to bring to females?
Hopefully, I'm praying a little more dignity.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little more humanness.
Okay.
I believe, you know, everything is not perfect, but something is better than nothing. We're making steps. And in anything, if we're moving forward and making progress, it's better than standing still or going backwards.
Just to go back to your point on a little bit more humanity within that system, within that bill, which is ridiculous, they just said that they're going to stop putting shackles on pregnant women. I mean, thought of doing that to begin with is ridiculous.
Well, because
where did that come from?
if you research, they said that when they made prison rules and prison laws, they did not think about women. They only pertained to men. And so as women have become very massed increase in numbers and going to prison, they did not change the laws. And so the laws are written for men. And we're not men. But nobody changed the law. And right now, you know, I am trying to write policy and legislation on people in pretrial having the right to vote. And because you're not guilty.
You're not convicted of a crime.
You're not convicted of a crime, and people sit on pretrial for years while judges are being elected, while elected officials are being elected, while people who sentence you are being elected, and you're not in the process. We are missing a huge voter block in that.
There's a presentation to the State Assembly coming up next month, and you need to be there. I'm going to put you in touch with some of the people, because I'm going to be up there also. Everybody in this country should be protected, no matter who they are, what they are, or where they are. And we've seen it, and it's very real, and we need to really be attuned to what went on in Georgia with Kemp.
Right, right.
The election in Florida with Gannon. My wife's family was involved in his campaign. Beto in Texas.
Georgia.
We need to be very much attuned to the corruption. It's interesting how Trump talked about voter fraud. And you had a state assembly, state attorney general member who denied even Martin Luther King's cousin the right to vote. A woman who was voting when Kemp was 5 years old, and she couldn't vote. All of these things fall into the welfare of the total body of this country.
Absolutely.
And how many years were you in?
5.
5.
How did you change as a person being there for 5 years?
For me, I made up my mind that nobody's going to save me, and I have to choose to save myself. And you have to want to do better. You have to have a desire to be better than what people think of you. I woke up every morning at 4:30 to guards using the word cunt and bitches. And I'm neither nor. I'm a human being. I was still somebody's child. I am still somebody's daughter. And though prison is not a rehabilitation place, everybody can rehab themselves. You have to will yourself. It is sheer desire. And my reality was, those bars were real, and I could not leave. So either you become worse and learn more and come here and die or go back, or you fight to be a better human being and never be caged again. I don't like cages.
Tell me this. I remember when you were at the youth huddle, you mentioned that the Manson women were in the same area of yours. Did you get to know them or mingle with them at all?
No, but they were there. Diane Downs, I did get to mingle with her. She was interesting. And, you know, you meet a lot of people, and I met a really wonderful lady, actually, who, her name was Mary Rubio, and she was doing life, but she explained that she was battered in domestic violence and her husband was a cop. And in the 70s, there was no laws for domestic violence. And so at the point where she couldn't take it anymore, she shot him. But who went to prison for life?
For shooting a cop at that?
Exactly. Wow. And, you know, so you hear women's stories and you're clear that some people should not be there.
So why were you in the same area as murderers?
Because in California, rape, robbery, and murder is an A-class felony.
A felony?
It's an A-class felony. I have a strike because I'm from California. So to get a lower sentence, I took the strike. So 3 strikes and you're out.
Okay.
New York, too.
What you were saying, it reminded me a lot of the poem by Maya Angelou, As a Caged Bird Sings. And I was just wondering, how were you able to find hope in that kind of situation?
Because you know what? I am clear there is strength in numbers. And
say again?
I said, I am clear there is strength in numbers.
Okay.
And for whatever society depicts, there are some women in prison, you guys, that are amazing, that are phenomenal. And I would never come out here and say, they're sad. No. You guys, it's just like here. It's just like being free. You got some of everybody. And God allowed me to meet some women that are resilient and strong and educated and wanted better for me sometimes than I wanted for myself. And told me, do this, do that. And inspired me never, ever to come back.
Right.
Because they said, we can't get free, but you go be free for us. Speak for us. Be a better person for us. And so
you were adopted.
basically, by really good people.
You were mentored.
I was
by these
mentored by really good people. And so I try my best with Silent Cry to be a voice for silent cries. People are hurting out here. And it is not time for play. And I'm clear that, you know, they were right when they said the revolution will not be televised, because people doing the work, I don't care if I ever get an accolade. I don't even care if you see me. I don't care. It's not, listen, people are hurting. And I'm looking at our local elected officials, and I watch it, what they stand up on, and I look at the things more that they stand down on. See, when you're loud, we all see you. But where were my mass elected officials when the young lady with a baby was being ripped out of her arms at HRA?
Yes.
Where were my elected officials then? That's when I need you to be loud. We can't be throwing holiday parties. We cannot sit quietly when it's convenient. Because sometimes we got to remind people that they work for us, we don't work for them.
Right.
That they're here for servitude. And I think we put people in places and we don't hold them accountable, that they belong to us, not the other way around.
The sister at the HRA office had been there for 4 hours. She had to go to HRA and get some paperwork done in order to go out and work her welfare assignment, whether it's picking up litter or raking leaves. And she was there with her child for 4 hours standing up. So you have a facility that isn't even prepared to serve the people by providing them a place to sit if they're going to be there for 4 hours. But none of the workers would go any place and stand up for 4 hours. And then the security guard calls the police. And I don't know what was in the mind of those cops to come in there and think that they needed to even get involved in something like that. And then you see them trying to pull a baby. It's not a bag of rice.
No.
Why would they do that?
They could do serious harm to
Why
the
would they
child.
do that?
Yeah, it's beyond me.
It's a mentality.
I was looking at that video. My wife and I were going crazy looking at that.
It's a mentality of,
purpose
I
for
mean,
taking the baby?
it's a mentality of dehumanization for people who are.
They wanted to arrest
who
and
are-
charge her with disorderly conduct and obstructing government. Oh,
And
yeah,
that- and the
nonsensical
crime.
crimes.
But if that young
To be in
lady,
poverty.
if that young lady was a white woman that was middle class,
We
she
know
wouldn't
that,
even
but
be looked
why,
upon.
what was, these were black people dealing with black people,
Yeah.
Right.
which is even worse.
It's a
Right?
mentality
But no, we
of
got
oppression.
to face the reality of how we treat each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, let's get down to that. Don't even bring white people into this situation. You know, as we, I mean, we have to face the fact that a black man grabbed a baby away. Now, what did she say to him to get him so angry? What was said?
Well, there's no excuse for that kind of behavior.
Of course not.
No.
A
And
grown
pulled the
man.
taser out, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
But you know what? Willie Lynch has done a good
of
job.
course. There you go.
I said I want to find his grave and give him a 10-toe salute because he did a good job.
Explain
He
that
was right
for
with
people
what he
that don't
said.
understand what you're talking about.
If you can demasculate the man,
Right.
if you can humiliate the woman, and you can strip the kids because they see that the parents have no dignity.
And no, they provide no
and
protection.
they can provide no protection. And we have truly come to a place where men are no longer taking their rightful place. Women are on the front line. Women are now the protector. This is insane. I am a woman and I want a man to do what a man is supposed to do. Protect a family. Protect a people. And that is not what is happening right now.
In Hakeem Madhubute's book, Black Men, he said that a brother is supposed to be a brother to brothers, a brother to sisters,
Absolutely.
a protector of the black weak, and the young and the old. He used to be a diplomat and a warrior.
How would you have handled that?
I would have walked in. Why are we here? We have nothing to do with this. All right, get the lady a seat.
Right.
She's got a baby with her. She should be sitting down.
Right.
Matter of fact, you work here. Get up out of your seat and give her a seat.
Right.
And don't call us again for any nonsense like that, because we'll lock
Okay.
you up for falsely reporting a crime. That's a misdemeanor.
All right.
Yeah.
All right? And go back
That's
out the
black
door.
on black.
All right?
Or any people on people.
People on
Yeah,
people.
because I was talking to some brothers in Rikers, and you guys, yo, man, I'll protect my woman. I said, you can't protect your woman sitting in a jail cell.
Not happening.
You can't protect your child sitting in a jail. You can't protect yourself in a jail cell.
Well,
You're part of the
And
problem.
we need to wake up. And I asked them, define a man. You can't
You know,
be a man.
One point I like to bring out, if we just face this fact about people in prison, how many black people in prison deserve to be there?
Well, a lot of black people that are in prison are falsely.
And they deserve to be there.
I wouldn't even have
you
that
know, they're the
number.
ones out there snatching our grandmother's pocketbook or beating up our grandmother or whatever. And a lot of these crimes are caused against other black people. So a lot of people in prison belong in prison. Let's not dismiss that. So how many people in prison do you know were actually guilty?
No, but it's not true.
but you know what?
What's not true?
So here's my rebuttal to that.
Yeah.
The person who snatched grandma's purse, right? The person who we all are watching social media videos, elderly are just being attacked. It is disgusting.
Okay,
We all see it and we get it.
okay.
And you know what? I need you to tell me, is there any other solution besides sending them somewhere to be a worse human being than they already were right here? Because if
So we
they're
should
still
police
in,
our own community and make sure that we take care of these people that are out of hand. That's the way we used to do
so
it.
what happened? Because we used to be a community that policed
Yeah,
our own.
That's right.
So churches used to be churches too. See, we have a lot of social economic issues that we want to not deal with. See, he's stealing because he's hungry, and hunger promotes death.
Right.
And the problem is, just Harlem, we got a church on every corner, and they're all closed. And when they're open, who are they serving? Let's get to the real problems here.
Okay.
On every corner, we got churches and liquor stores. But who is providing jobs so young people don't have to rob? Who's providing? We have everybody selling the churches, putting theirs on the bottom and sky rises on the top. So the inflation in the neighborhood goes up. Now you can't afford the groceries in the store that you used to shop at. So now the mama is struggling. It's not a lot of men left in the households. So now the kids need. Where the kids gonna get it from? If mama is barely making it, where are the kids gonna get it from? So you know, unfortunately, they go outside and they find the same euphoria I found over 20 years ago, because the street ain't changed.
More than that, you know.
And so they are finding people who say, we will love you, we will help you, we will protect you, we will feed you, we will clothe you. Ain't that what the church used to do? Oh, because now the church is $1 billion business, and we're not taking care of our people.
Well, those corner churches are not.
No, the corner church isn't.
Dead.
But we got some churches. They got money. But where are you putting your resources? Are you providing not this new affordable, real affordable housing to single parents? Are you providing real affordable housing to families of medium income for real? Because you have the capital, but it's not happening.
There are a lot of projects throughout the city. Churches that have land are now developing and building. my problem, as it is with you, the term affordable housing is a myth. Right? There's no reason why a person should be paying $3,000 and $4,000 a month for rent.
Absolutely.
Gentrification basically means get out. And we need to look at that just as we saw redlining back in the 60s, the 50s and 60s. All of this stuff is by design. It's not coincidental, it's by design.
Absolutely.
The people that ran to Long Island are tired of killing themselves trying to get to and from work every day on a 4-hour trek.
Yeah.
So they want to come back here. The center in downtown Brooklyn, the Barclays Center, they built that. At that location, the Dodgers couldn't put their stadium there in the late 50s, but they allowed them to put a stadium there now. The Long Island Railroad comes in there. J Street Borough Hall, they connected that to the R train to take people from J Street Borough Hall from the 8th Avenue line over to the R so they can come out and go right into the stadium, come back down and go back to Manhattan or take the Long Island Railroad out to Manhattan.
Yeah.
All of these development projects, there are now 60-story buildings downtown Brooklyn. But wherever you go in the city, East New York, there are 17 slated projects for East New York. And I'm not talking housing projects, I'm talking developments, not projects. The property value in East New York is jumping close to $500,000 now. East New York, the murder capital of New York City. The last area that will be dealt with is Brownsville. Brownsville is in a time warp in Brooklyn. It looks like the 1960s on Stone Avenue or Mother Gaston down near Sutter. Junkies still nodding out, methadone addicts. Yeah, it's a time warp. The city has systematically sold off different properties that they have to private developers to redo the housing projects because you're going to have to buy your unit. You're not going to rent it, you're going to buy it. And if you're hustling on the street, you don't have a W-2 form. So they're going to get you out. You're not going to go to court to fight it because the city owns the courts. And that's how they're restructuring neighborhoods. They're repaving streets, they're putting in handicap ramps, not for gangbangers, but for people who are handicapped.
Bike ramps,
and
city bikes.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
So we need to understand the systemic racism. It's on every level.
Oh, yeah.
It's in housing. It's in education. It's in employment. It's in everything. And people might say, oh, it looks better. It looks better, and it's not better for you.
Nope. It's never better
So
for us.
how do
When you
we...
think, that knowing all these problems that we have, wouldn't you think that we stick together a little bit better than we're doing? Or how do we bring some self-pride or some unity amongst brothers and sisters? How do we bring that unity? We know the problems, but the problem is with us dealing with each other. Because if we dealt with each other properly, we'd be on the same page and prevent a lot of this stuff, okay? Now, I see the whole problem coming out when we start selling drugs to each other. In the early 80s, when they planned genocide, when Reagan came in, that's when it all really, I mean, it was always there, but this was a asserted effort to poison our system completely and put it in the gangs out in California. The Bloods and the Crips were selling and killing each other. They really, the Willie Lynch was really prevalent back in those days. But this is the aftermath of those early 80s and the decade of greed in the 80s with Reagan, Reaganomics, trickle-down theory, and all this stuff. Oh, Wall Street really shot up during those times. But we just went back to real slavery, a mental slavery, where we were killing each other, and we're still doing that. And then blaming the white man for bringing in the pistol, bringing in the gun, bringing in the drugs. But we're selling the drugs, we're pulling the trigger, and we're still treating each other like niggers and calling each other niggers. Our music is degrading and calling out women. Back in my day, we were lovers. We swooned. We taught people love and energy. You look at a black man, he had soul. He had good spirit in him. And everybody in the 50s wanted to be black. We were talking about Elvis Presley was imitating who? I mean, who was he imitating? We had Nat King Cole up there, the beautifulest black man I've ever seen, because his soul came out when he opened up his mouth. And it cured all the ills of being a black man. You kidding? You saw Nat King Cole? He saw a lot of things of being dark-skinned. You kidding? You listen to Nat King Cole.
He was jet black.
And he was about as dark as you could get. Yes. But he has so much love energy in him, and that just, white people just swoon. Well, now that we come out today, the young youth, the rappers are all ex-drug dealers. Our pride comes in being a gangster. And you got to be foul and nasty towards your brother in order to get some respect.
Because now they figured out.
Huh?
Because now they have figured out no black person owns a music label.
Not at all.
No what?
No black person owns a music label. So now,
well, why don't we?
So now we figured
why
out
don't
we can poison the kids 16 bars at a time. So now we got them. And we'll take 10,000 white kids to go with them because we got them.
When you look at the old, when gangster rap started, started on the West Coast, rap out of the Bronx, guys they were doing their thing, you know. It wasn't anything violent. You know, you came out, you did your thing, I did my thing, and we competed that way. The West Coast introduced gangster rap. There were white people in the entertainment business that started this stuff, and they were all Jewish. It's not anti-Semitic because Jews are not Semites. They were all Jewish businessmen. And you go back and look at all those albums. On the back, it was produced by a Jewish guy because black guys didn't know anything. They paid these guys. Why? Because a guy like KRS-One, who was rapping about the history of these people, they didn't want them. They didn't want the kids to learn that.
Because you can't. See, no, that's educated.
Let's hand them the garbage. We'll pay these guys good money and put them out front. And they don't understand how the plantation ethic continued. They became the overseers of the youth, breaking them down and wanting to go.
How do you let that happen?
She's a victim of it. She's a victim of an earlier stage of the breakdown of the black community, the black family, and just what this society does to people. So if you don't have a strong core of people to hold you, you fall victim to the system.
That's right. You were born in 1980.
I was born in 78.
78. Okay. 78.
So crack was coming in.
So you were part of that planned genocide. You came up as a baby in that society. So you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, can I say something?
Ooh, that's amazing.
So, you know, just listening to it and just processing a lot of things that are being said, it's really interesting how this is not an issue that is solely based within the U.S. My mother's from Honduras, and seeing how the government in third world countries treats its citizens who are poor, peasants, activists, by killing them and breaking them down in order to have a certain level of power being maintained. And how that is, I mean, it's not to the same extreme, of course, on the United States, but it has gotten to that point where we've really worked on the backs of poor people. And we ask ourselves, why are we letting this happen to us? Why are we engaging in it? But we have to realize that slavery was not that long ago, that we're still living from the reverberations of it economically. And, you know, I can say this, I go to an HBCU. Those issues don't occur at Morehouse College, right? And they're black people. The reason why if you go across the street to the West End, why it's happening there, is because there is a systemic level of economic deprivation which causes violence. This happens within white groups, this happens within any other group that you can find. Whenever there are economic disadvantages, people find a way to make it out. And that comes at the expense of other people.
Answer. The answer is you, a 20-year-old black man.
Well, no, I'm not a Superman, right? But
no, you are the Superman. You're my Superman. Because I've watched you grow up. You hear me?
Yeah.
And what you're saying right now is exactly what you need to do. Because I see your spirit, and I know it. I know your spirit. And you've taken everything I've just said and showed me the answer. The answer is young men like you. You just carry on to what you're doing, Julian, and you're a blessing to you and your family and everybody else around you. Because I see your mind is just, you know how to give back. You see the egos all around you. You see the problems, and you're hearing all the problems. You've been listening all these years. And you're at an important point in your life that you've left teenage years, and you're becoming, Superman.
Well,
you keep it up and stay humble.
No, but it really isn't about, it's about a collection of narratives that come together in order to challenge this meta-narrative of black bodies or of women or of just this meta-narrative of inherent inferiority. And we need your story to be constantly told. We need Brother Graham's story as a black police officer to be constantly told. Your story growing up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to be constantly told, challenge these systems, because people are growing up in this meta-narrative and adopting this and looking at themselves through this double consciousness, right? By looking at themselves as being what the oppressor defines them as. And it's disgusting.
And you become what people define you as. It's easy,
What
Julian,
changed you? What changed you, really? Was there one point where you just stopped and said, I'm going to stop this foolishness?
You know what? The point for me was people saying, I might give out, but I won't give up. And, I thank God for the village.
The what?
The village.
Okay.
It is not gone. There are people out here who still care. I'm sitting at a table with two seasoned men that still care.
Yeah.
Which means as long as somebody still cares, there is still a village.
Okay.
Because there will be people like you to lead people like me to a better space. Okay. There will be young people like Julian, oh my God, to soar. I had the opportunity to sit with Julian and meet Julian. That was a profound experience. I went to Nan just to sit and was actually not there to speak or talk, or I was just listening. I was just there to listen.
Well, I didn't get a chance to play your piece.
Oh.
I played part of it.
Yeah, I was just there to listen. And I was listening to these young people, and my heart was bursting. I was so excited, I wanted to cry. Because I said, they get it. They are not lost.
That's right.
They got it.
Right.
They are going to
soar.
They are going to fix broken windows because they got it. And they're going to take people with them.
Yeah.
And I am
well, you know, it's all Ashley Sharpton.
Listen, my hat off to this sister.
Ashley is
because that queen had a vision, and I thank God that she went with her vision.
Yes, sir.
Because her vision is blessing the multitude.
Right.
Because if you can produce 10 or 15 Julians and Dominiques and all those other young people that were in there, to take their friends with them, because they are all leaders, not followers, that means they got to take people with them.
That's it.
They're going to take Senate seats. They're going to take judge benches. They're going to be the next great everythings.
That's right.
They're going to write policy and legislation.
That's right.
They are going to create change. Because I heard something, you guys, that was so profound. I heard a Caucasian say, if you want to know how to keep the minorities oppressed in the 21st century after the Willie Lynch letter, keep them out of policy and legislation, and we can keep creating laws that affect them until time ends. And when I heard them talk about Centoya Brown, and they wrote letters and said they advocated I said, my God, even the young people are on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because the revolution will not be televised.
And
Tamika's a byproduct
you have to realize that
of
this
that,
is
with the Women's
this is
March.
Julian is a product of the National Action Network, and you see the hard work that comes out of National Action Network.
Tamika Mallory with the Women's March
Oh my goodness!
is another.
Victoria.
It is to light those flames and let those flames go where they go.
Right?
To bring some light. That's the one thing. When I was with 100 Blacks in law enforcement, people used to say, oh, we like what you guys are doing. What are you doing? What are you doing where you are? Whether you're a carpenter, a plumber, a teacher, whatever you're doing, you need to be doing. Not just your job, you need to be doing. You need to, and I told this to the law students at Hofstra a couple years ago, it's not about you getting a degree and becoming a lawyer, getting a car and a house and all that. No.
It's weak.
Every profession has a negative impact upon our people. Every profession. Every. What are you going to do to lessen the negative impact? If you're an attorney, if you're a producer, if you're a, or whatever, what are you going to do to lessen the negative impact? Don't come to me and tell me, oh, you're doing it great. I don't need to hear that. What are you doing to lessen the impact upon our people?
And
Go
with
ahead.
that, and Christmas coming up, this whole idea of Christ and Christmas and the birth of Christ, I don't know if that's the proper date, but it's giving, and you should give of yourself is what the point is here. And you give back to your community, and if you want to be a good Santa Claus, be Christ-like. Give and love people as you're supposed to. And especially love the people that are closest to you, your loved ones and your community. Because we are a big family. The beginning piece showed us how black people are throughout the planet. We've been here a long time, and we are the spiritual people of the planet. Like I say every time, the God in me loves the God in you. And there's truly a God in every human, because we're all a reflection of God. And stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist experience and more from my guests. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah. And the rest of them, all of them.
Hanukkah, Pastor.
Power to the people. God bless. We got another minute for the Bronx. Any closing words?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you guys, because I want to tell you I love you. I love you for being strong black men.
Amen.
We love
Thank you for being what we need. And Julian, thank you for the crown that you wear on your head.
And you have to realize that God's a female in my book. We come from you. You are our beginning. So we have to pay homage to you. All right? Because we come from your womb.
Thank you.
All right? So you've got to always be strong. I loved you at the huddle.
Thank you so much.
You were powerful.
Chill down my spine.
You're powerful. You said it. You said it all here.
You
and
guys
Ashley, power to Ashley Sharpton.
Yes.
Power to the people.
Yes.
All right? Ashley, I love it, man. That's my people.
Yeah.